November 24th, 1971. A man boards Northwest Orient Flight 305 with a briefcase and a secret. He takes seat 18C, orders a bourbon and soda, and lights a cigarette. Then he hands the flight attendant a note that will change aviation history forever. She assumes it's a phone number and slips it in her pocket. He leans forward and whispers, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Her hands shake as she unfolds the paper. The note reads, "I have a bomb in my briefcase and I will use it if necessary." He opens the briefcase just enough for her to see inside. Red wires, white cylinders, and 8 sticks wrapped together. She doesn't know if it's real, but she's not willing to find out. His demands, $200,000 for parachutes and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. The captain radios Seattle-Tacoma Airport. "We have a hijack situation." Flight 305 enters a holding pattern over Puget Sound while the FBI scrambles. On the ground, agents stuff a canvas bag with 10,000 $20 bills. Every bill is photographed and serial numbers recorded. The parachutes arrive from a local skydiving school, 2 primary chutes, 2 reserves. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 lands in Seattle with 36 passengers holding their breath. The hijacker allows all passengers to leave, but keeps the crew. A lone airline employee approaches with the money bag and parachutes. The hijacker inspects each parachute carefully. He knows what he's looking for. He straps one chute to his chest and uses the second to secure the money bag to his body. New orders: fly to Mexico City, altitude 10,000 feet, speed 150 knots. The 727 takes off again at 7:40 p.m. into freezing rain and total darkness. Minutes later, a warning light flashes in the cockpit. The aft stairs have been deployed. The captain calls back to the cabin. No response. Flight attendant Tina Mucklow walks to the rear and finds it empty. The hijacker is gone, jumped into a freezing rainstorm at 200 miles per hour. Somewhere below, a man is falling through absolute darkness with $200,000 strapped to his chest. The FBI will search for 45 years and never find a body. They'll analyze weather patterns, interview witnesses, and chase thousands of leads to dead ends. But they'll never answer the question that haunts them. Who was he? Flight attendant Tina remembers a calm man in his mid-40s, olive-skinned, wearing a black raincoat. He spoke politely, never raised his voice, and seemed entirely in control. But the FBI sketch artist creates a face that could belong to 10,000 men. The media names him D.B. Cooper, a clerical error that becomes legend. But what the FBI doesn't know yet is that the physics say he should be dead. The jump zone, somewhere over southwestern Washington, in a storm with 0 visibility. Air temperature, 7 degrees below freezing. Wind speed, nearly 80 miles per hour in gusts. Cooper jumped wearing only a business suit. No helmet, no goggles, no jumpsuit. He wore loafers, street shoes with leather soles that would tear off in the slipstream. The moment he left that aircraft, 200-mile-per-hour winds would have hit him like a freight train. His tie would have whipped across his face like a razor blade. The raindrops would have felt like needles piercing his skin at terminal velocity. He couldn't see the ground, couldn't see the trees, couldn't even see his own hand. But retired Special Agent Larry Carr believes Cooper planned for all of this. This wasn't panic, Carr says. This was precision. Cooper specified the exact altitude and speed, conditions perfect for a jump. He demanded the aft stairs remain deployed, the only exit you could use mid-flight without explosive decompression. He rejected 2 of the parachutes immediately. He knew which ones were dummies. And he chose a military-style chest chute instead of the safer sport parachute. Why? Because a chest chute leaves your hands free. Free to grip the money bag, or free to operate a reserve chute if things went wrong. The FBI's conclusion: Cooper had military training, possibly special forces. But here's what troubles investigators. He made one critical error. He chose a reserve chute that had been sewn shut for training purposes. It would never open. So either Cooper didn't check carefully enough, or he never intended to use it at all. November 24th, 1971, 8:13 p.m. Cooper stands at the open aft stairs. $200,000 strapped to his chest, freezing rain hammering his face. The slipstream roars like a jet engine, the sound of wind at 200 miles per hour. He can't hear, can't see, can barely breathe against the wind pressure. Then he steps into nothing. For 30 seconds,
A tumbling freefall begins. In the vortex, control is lost.
then he pulls the ripcord. The parachute deploys with violent force, a shock that can dislocate shoulders. If the money bag shifted during deployment, the straps could have strangled him. If his shoes came off, and they likely did, he'd land barefoot in freezing mud. If his tie caught in the rigging, he'd choke to death before reaching the ground. And he's descending blind into a forest where trees rise 200 feet tall. The chances of threading between those trunks in total darkness, astronomically low. Most experts believe he hit the trees at 40 miles per hour and died on impact. But then why hasn't anyone found his body in 50 years? November 25, 1971, the FBI launches the largest manhunt in American history. Codename, Norjack, Northwest Hijacking. 300 agents deployed across Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. They start with the flight path, a line drawn through darkness and rain. But the 727 was flying on instruments. The crew never saw the ground. Wind data suggests Cooper landed somewhere near Lake Merwin, 18 square miles of wilderness. Search teams enter the forest on foot, slogging through freezing mud and fallen timber. They're looking for a body, a parachute, or $200,000 in cash. They find nothing, not a thread, not a footprint, not a single $20 bill. Helicopters with thermal imaging scan the canopy from above. The infrared cameras detect deer, bear, even abandoned campfires, but no human remains. The ground search expands. Volunteers join FBI agents in a grid-pattern sweep. Days turn to weeks. Rain turns to snow. By December, the forest is buried under 3 feet of snow. The search is suspended. The FBI shifts strategy. If they can't find Cooper, maybe they can find the money. Every bill's serial number has been recorded, 10,000 individual numbers. The FBI distributes the list to every bank in America, watching, waiting. If Cooper tries to spend even one bill, they'll have him. Months pass, then years. Not a single marked bill appears anywhere. The FBI interviews over 800 suspects, military veterans, former paratroopers, con artists. Every suspect has an alibi or fails the psychological profile. Tips flood in from across the country. Most are worthless, some are insane. One woman claims Cooper is her ex-husband. He matches the description perfectly. Her ex-husband, Richard Floyd McCoy, hijacked a United Airlines flight 5 months after Cooper. McCoy used the same method, demanded parachutes and cash, jumped mid-flight. But McCoy was caught, because unlike Cooper, he survived. McCoy claims he's not Cooper, and the evidence backs him up. Wrong age, wrong physical build, and he was home in Utah the night Cooper jumped. February 1980, 9 years after the hijacking, a family finds something on the Columbia River. 8-year-old Brian Ingram is building a fire pit when his shovel hits something solid. He pulls out 3 rotting bundles held together by rubber bands, bundles of $20 bills. The FBI arrives within hours and confirms what they already suspect. The serial numbers match Cooper's ransom money exactly. Slow camera pan across cataloged money, showing extent of recovery. Natural evidence processing, documentary small fraction. The FBI digs deeper, sifting through tons of sand looking for more bills, parachute fabric, human remains. They find nothing else, which raises more questions than it answers. How did Cooper's money end up 30 miles from the suspected jump zone? Theory 1. The money washed downstream through underground channels. But hydrologists say the bills would have disintegrated completely in moving water. Theory 2. Someone found Cooper's body, took most of the money, and buried the rest. But why bury $5,000 and risk returning to a crime scene? Theory 3. Cooper survived the jump and planted the money himself as misdirection. Former FBI agent Ralph Himmelsbach spent decades on the case. He believes Cooper died in the forest. Nobody could survive that jump, Himmelsbach insists. The conditions were impossible. But Special Agent Larry Carr disagrees. He thinks Cooper was too prepared to fail. Every decision Cooper made showed expertise. Altitude, speed, parachute selection. This wasn't luck. This was someone who knew exactly what they were doing. In 2007, the FBI officially requests public help and receives thousands of new tips. One tip points to a man named Kenneth Christensen, a former paratrooper and Northwest Airlines employee. Christensen had detailed knowledge of 727s and worked the Seattle-Tacoma route. After the hijacking, he suddenly bought a house with cash, money he claimed came from investments. His brother claims Christensen made a deathbed confession, "I'm Dan Cooper." But the FBI finds problems. Christensen was too short and his age doesn't match witness descriptions. Another suspect emerges, Robert Rackstraw, a decorated Vietnam helicopter pilot with demolitions training. Rackstraw matches the physical description, had parachute expertise, and knew how to build bombs. In 1978, Rackstraw is arrested for check fraud, using fake identities just like Cooper. Investigators find a typewriter in Rackstraw's storage unit, the same model used for Cooper's ransom note. But Rackstraw has alibis, passes polygraph tests, and the FBI never charges him. He dies in 2019, taking whatever secrets he had to the grave. In 2011, amateur investigators discover unique particles on Cooper's tie, rare earth elements. The particles suggest Cooper worked in aerospace manufacturing or chemical engineering. One particle is titanium, used in aerospace manufacturing in the late 1960s. This narrows the suspect pool to engineers at Boeing, Lockheed, or similar companies. But Boeing employed over 100,000 people in the Seattle area in 1971. The tie also contains particles from the Puget Sound area, confirming Cooper was local. In 2016, the FBI officially closes the case, unsolved after 45 years. But citizen investigators refuse to stop. Websites, podcasts, and documentaries keep searching. Some believe Cooper is still alive, living under a new identity somewhere in America. Others think his body lies somewhere in the forest, waiting to be found. And some believe the truth is darker, that Cooper was part of something bigger, that the hijacking was a test run, practice for something that never happened. But without a body, without the money, without a confession, D.B. Cooper remains a ghost. The D.B. Cooper hijacking changed aviation forever. Within months, the FAA mandates metal detectors at every American airport. Armed sky marshals begin flying on commercial flights, invisible guardians among passengers. And Boeing redesigns the 727. The aft stairs can no longer be open in flight. The modification is called the Cooper Vane, a permanent reminder etched into aviation history. Between 1968 and 1972, there were over 130 hijackings in America. Cooper's success inspired 15 copycat hijackings in 1972 alone. All of them were caught because, unlike Cooper, they made mistakes. One jumped without a parachute and died instantly. Another landed safely but left fingerprints all over the ransom note. Cooper left no fingerprints, no DNA, and no witnesses who could identify him with certainty. He became an American folk hero, the only criminal who beat the system and disappeared. Books, movies, songs, Cooper became legend, a Robin Hood of the skies. In Ariel, Washington, near the suspected drop zone, they hold an annual D.B. Cooper Days festival. Thousands gather to celebrate the man who jumped into history and was never seen again. But for the families of the suspects, the legend brings only pain. Kenneth Christensen's niece spent years defending her uncle's name against accusations. "My uncle was a good man," she says, "not a criminal who abandoned his family." Robert Rackstraw's children lived under constant media scrutiny, cameras following them for decades. Every Thanksgiving brings new documentaries, new theories, new accusations about their father. For them, D.B. Cooper isn't folklore. He's the ghost that destroyed their privacy forever. And what about the flight attendants who lived through the hijacking? Tina Mucklow, who spent hours alone with Cooper, never speaks publicly about that night. She became a nun, seeking peace in a life far from the spotlight and the questions. The pilots, Captain Scott and First Officer Radizak, retired from Northwest Airlines carrying the secret. "We did everything by the book," Radizak said years later, and he still got away. So what really happened to D.B. Cooper on November 24th, 1971? Did he die in the forest, his body decomposing beneath moss and ferns? Did he survive and walk away, starting a new life with a new name? Or did he drown in the Columbia River, his body swept out to sea? The truth is buried somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, in forest, in river, or in memory. 50 years have passed. Witnesses have died. Evidence has degraded. Memories have faded. But the fascination endures, because Cooper represents something we all secretly admire. The courage to risk everything, the intelligence to plan perfectly, the audacity to succeed. He proved that one person could outsmart the entire system and vanish into legend. And until someone finds a body, a parachute, or the rest of that money, D.B. Cooper will remain exactly what he wanted to be: invisible, untouchable, and free.